Indian Motorcycle, the brand that's outlasted wars, bankruptcies, and bad boardrooms, just got sold. Polaris handed over the keys to a private equity group called Carolwood LP. No press blitz, no fanfare, just paperwork and a promise of a smooth transition. I've read the filings, I've got the dates, and we're going to dig into what's really behind this move, because it's not just another sale. It's a shift that could change how every American V-twin gets built and sold from here on out. But here's the part nobody's talking about. Buried in that sale agreement is one line that could decide whether Indian roars into a new golden era or gets stripped down for parts. Stick around. Once you hear what it says, you'll never look at your bike, or Polaris, the same way again. What's happening? After more than a decade of ownership, Polaris Industries has sold the majority stake in Indian Motorcycle to a California-based private equity outfit called Carolwood Limited Partnership. Polaris will keep a smaller minority share, but the keys, the reins, and the decisions are now in someone else's hands. The sale, confirmed by Polaris Investor Relations and covered by Reuters and Cycle World, turns Indian into a standalone manufacturer once the deal fully closes. It is the biggest shift for an American motorcycle name since Harley-Davidson spun off Buell. For riders who still walk into Spirit Lake and smell the oil and aluminum, this news hits like a torque wrench to the gut. Since the revival in 2011, Polaris had poured real money into modern tooling, styling, and engineering. The Springfield, the Chief, the Challenger, all those machines came from that push. Now with Carolwood taking the lead, nobody yet knows how deep they'll dig in or how long they'll stay. Polaris insists that it will support the brand through a smooth transition, but every veteran rider has heard that line before. In business talk, smooth transition can mean anything from new energy to quiet exit. For owners, the short term matters most: parts availability, warranty coverage, and resale value. The name on your tank just shifted into new hands, and while the metal hasn't changed, the money behind it has. A sale may look simple on paper, but this buyer isn't. Who the hell is Carolwood? Carolwood Limited Partnership isn't a household name in the motorcycle world. Based in Los Angeles, this private equity firm built its fortune buying mid-size manufacturing and lifestyle companies, polishing the balance sheets and selling them later for profit. Until now, they'd never owned a vehicle maker. So why buy into a century-old American motorcycle brand in 2025? Because prestige on two wheels still sells, and the Indian badge carries cultural weight that spreadsheets can't measure. According to Polaris's investor statement, Carolwood sees long-term growth potential in the heritage motorcycle segment. That phrasing tells you two things. First, they think classic American metal can still make money. Second, they believe they can streamline the operation and squeeze more yield out of each dollar invested. Private equity firms love tangible brands with loyal communities. They can quantify the loyalty and borrow against it. Now here's where riders start worrying. Private equity success stories exist. Ducati's turnaround in the 2000s, for example. But so do horror stories where cost-cutting gutted soul. Carolwood's executives have promised to keep leadership independent and maintain American assembly. That promise sounds good, but the proof will live in how they treat suppliers and engineering. The motorcycle community has seen enough boardrooms to know that the heart of a brand can vanish quietly between quarterly calls. Names on paper don't build bikes, people do. If you're fired up about what's happening to Indian, drop a comment below. I want to hear your take. Like this video if you believe riders deserve the truth, not headlines. Mike Kennedy takes the bars. At the front of this new ride sits Mike Kennedy, the man chosen as Indian's next chief executive officer. Kennedy is not some outsider in a pressed suit. He's a rider, a 20-plus year Harley-Davidson veteran who once helped steer Vance and Hines through its expansion years. He knows exhaust notes, dealer margins, and the smell of race fuel. His resume reads like the story of a guy who started in the warehouse and learned business the hard way, on the shop floor. Polaris and Road Racing World both confirmed Kennedy's appointment, and his own online post framed the role as an honor to guide America's first motorcycle company into its next chapter. For old-school bikers, that line carries both promise and caution. Leadership changes can inject fresh energy, but they can also bring marketing gloss. Kennedy's track record suggests he values performance and authenticity, two qualities Indian can't afford to lose. A seasoned insider like him could bridge the gap between financial owners and mechanical doers. If he keeps engineers and riders close to decision-making, Indian might avoid the hollow corporate tone that turned so many faithful away from other brands. The industry needs builders who understand chrome and character, not just quarterly earnings. Riders will give Kennedy a fair shake until the first hint that the new management starts chasing spreadsheets over throttle feel. Leadership is promise. The shop floor is truth. Protect your ride and yourself. Gear and accessories in the description. What stays put? People, plants, dealers. Here's what won't change, at least for now. Roughly 900 employees will move with Indian into the new standalone structure. The manufacturing plants in Spirit Lake, Iowa, and the engineering hub in Monticello, Minnesota remain operational. Dealer networks will continue to run under existing contracts, meaning your local shop will still service bikes, honor warranties, and order parts through the same pipeline. Both the Wall Street Journal and Polaris's official statements underline this continuity as a sign of stability. That's good news for owners watching headlines with crossed arms. Continuity in parts and service means the bikes already on the road keep their support, and it prevents an immediate shock to resale values. Dealers, many of whom invested heavily in showrooms under Polaris, have reason to exhale, for now. But everyone in the business knows that promises made during a transition often soften once the ink dries. Private equity firms like to optimize networks, and optimization usually means closing slower stores and consolidating supply. Still, Spirit Lake stands as more than a plant. It's a symbol of revival. A town that believed in metal, torque, and craftsmanship when corporate America said motorcycles were dead. Keeping those doors open matters far beyond numbers. It preserves a link between history and horsepower. As one old mechanic said when news hit, "If Spirit Lake's lights stay on, Indian still breathes." For now, the lights are on, the lines are running, and the badge remains American-built. If the door stays open, the question becomes why it moved. Why Polaris let go. The numbers tell the story before any press release does. For years, Polaris made its biggest money from off-road vehicles, Rangers, Razors, and snowmobiles. Motorcycles were never more than a small slice of the pie. In fact, Indian accounted for about 7% of Polaris's total revenue during the 12-month period ending June 30th. That means out of every $100 Polaris earned, only 7 came from motorcycles. In a world where capital chases margins, those numbers just don't keep the board excited. Barron's and Reuters both noted that the sale would be earnings accretive, meaning Polaris expects its profit margins and earnings per share to rise after handing Indian to Carolwood. That phrase, earnings accretive, is Wall Street shorthand for cutting loose the slow-growth division so the remaining business looks sharper on paper. To corporate accountants, it is clean math. To riders who care about American steel and road feel, it sounds cold, almost surgical. Still, it makes a certain kind of sense. Polaris wants to double down on what it already dominates: off-roaders, snow machines, and marine engines. Those markets carry fat margins and steady demand from both recreational and industrial buyers. Motorcycles, on the other hand, demand constant design work, dealer support, and racing exposure. All expensive commitments for a division that contributes less than a tenth of the total haul. The sale gives Polaris a payday and Indian its independence. The company line says it creates focus for both sides. Translated, Polaris frees up capital and Indian either flies or flops on its own. The true test will be whether Carolwood spends enough to sustain R&D instead of milking the brand for short-term gain. Room helps until demand tightens. Demand reality. Registrations and rates. When you step back from corporate press talk, the bigger market picture explains even more. After the post-pandemic surge of 2020 and 2021, new motorcycle registrations began to cool. By mid-2024, most analysts tracked a single-digit decline across heavyweight cruisers and touring segments. Financing costs rose sharply as interest rates climbed, squeezing both dealers and buyers. Barron's noted new touring bike payments climbed nearly 20% since 2021, forcing riders to hold on to bikes longer or buy used. Dealers saw slower turnover and leaned on incentives. Inflation added pressure through rising insurance and repair costs, spiking ownership expenses just as budgets tightened. Older riders already owning paid-off machines read the signs clearly. No reason to chase new debt when loyalty and maintenance still keep wheels turning. This backdrop matters because it tells us why Polaris wanted out and why Carolwood sees opportunity. When a market cools, valuations drop. A private equity firm can buy a respected name at a discount, wait for the cycle to swing back, and cash out richer on the other side. Carolwood's timing might look bold, but to financiers it's textbook contrarian investing. They're betting that when rates ease, Indian will be perfectly positioned to rebound without dragging down Polaris's broader numbers. So what did the new Indian put on paper on day one? What they promised on day one. On the very day the sale was announced, Polaris Investor Relations posted a joint statement promising business as usual for Indian customers. The document said current dealers would remain authorized, all existing warranties would stay valid, and production would continue through the transition with no disruption to product or service. Those phrases sound familiar, but they carry weight when you read between the lines. It means Carolwood isn't walking in to dismantle the brand, at least not yet. New leadership vowed to invest where riders notice, meaning faster parts, sharper accessories, and upgraded dealer tools while keeping Spirit Lake running at full capacity. That continuity signals stability, no canceled models or sudden price spikes. But promises fade fast when profits tighten. The proof will ride in the details. Parts arriving on time, warranties honored without friction, and a steady model cadence proving words still mean something. Still, guarded optimism is fair. Carolwood inherits a brand with solid engineering, loyal riders, and a clean image. If they're smart, they'll treat Indian less like an investment and more like a trust they have to earn. In every shop from Iowa to Florida, mechanics will be watching the new leadership's next move. Promises matter. Playbooks matter more. The private equity playbook. Private equity runs on one guiding idea: buy, fix, and sell. The fixing part is where things can go right or wrong. Typically, firms like Carolwood look for ways to tighten cash flow, reduce working capital, and simplify product lines. In practice, that could mean cutting slow-selling trims, negotiating harder with suppliers, or merging overlapping departments. None of those steps sound glamorous, but they can make a company leaner and more profitable. When private equity works, it frees engineers to innovate, speeds limited runs, and trims bureaucracy. Like Ducati's revival in the 2000s when investors stabilized cash and boosted racing before selling profitably. But the flip side cuts deep. Contractors replace craftsmen, cheap parts, hurt reliability, and trust erodes fast. A motorcycle brand runs on emotion and reputation. Once those crack, no spreadsheet or quarterly gain can ever weld them back together. Ride Apart and other trade outlets quoted Carolwood partners saying they respect the brand's history and will maintain its commitment to American manufacturing. That line sounds rehearsed but still important. If they mean it, Indian could get the best of both worlds. Private funding with genuine motorcycle leadership guiding the throttle. The danger is when finance outruns feel. Riders can forgive slow innovation. They never forgive losing soul. Enough boardroom, let's hit the lot and the shop. Dealers, first to feel it. When a motorcycle brand changes owners, the first tremor never hits the showroom floor. It hits the back office. Dealers across the country are already watching their floor plan terms, parts fill rates, and rebate schedules for clues about the new regime's intent. A few have spoken quietly to Powersports Business, describing calls with Carolwood representatives who promised no immediate changes but asked pointed questions about inventory aging and demo units. Those questions matter. They tell you what kind of owner you're dealing with. someone building for the long road, or someone counting quarters. If a dealer suddenly faces shorter payment terms or smaller rebates, it means capital discipline is tightening. If parts orders slow down or ship incomplete, it means cost control has already begun. But so far, reports from large volume dealers in Texas and Ohio suggest shipments are steady and factory reps remain responsive. For now, the heartbeat is strong. Behind the counter, though, every manager knows this. Private equity likes metrics. They'll analyze warranty claims, service throughput, and unit turnover with laser precision. The danger is when the spreadsheet replaces human instinct. Riders don't buy a new Chief because of algorithmic pricing. They buy it because the dealer knows their story, remembers their last bike, and hands them a key with respect. If that spirit stays, the brand survives. Next, the folks who already paid, you. Warranty, resale, pride. For every rider with an Indian in the garage, the same questions hit instantly. Will my warranty still stand? Will my bike lose value? Will parts dry up? The official word from Polaris Investor Relations was clear enough. All existing warranties remain valid and all scheduled maintenance will be honored through the current dealer network. That statement gives relief, but riders know words fade unless backed by action. Used listings tell the story. After the sale, resale prices on Chieftains and Challengers held firm, even rising as buyers chased the last Polaris-era Indians, a sign of confidence. Smart owners protect that value by logging every service and receipt, watching promo cycles, and ignoring quick cash incentives. When Carolwood tempts the market, patience pays. Timing matters, and so does pride in keeping your machine and its worth steady through change. Owning an Indian has always meant more than price tags and horsepower. It's a badge that says you ride for craftsmanship, not conformity. Protecting that badge starts in your garage by keeping your bike sharp, your paperwork tight, and your trust realistic. And the people who build the bikes, are they steady? Spirit Lake and Monticello. While Wall Street debates margins, small towns live the reality. In Spirit Lake, Iowa, and Monticello, Minnesota, Indian isn't just an employer, it's the backbone of local identity. When the sale news broke, the local papers led with one phrase: jobs remain. That headline carried weight. These communities have seen factories come and go. They know that what keeps stores open isn't sentiment, it's purchase orders and payroll. So far, the signs are stable. Vendors around Spirit Lake report the same delivery schedules, and job postings for machinists, assemblers, and engineers continue online. Local diners still fill with shift workers swapping stories about the new owners and the same production rhythms. One welder put it best: "We're still building bikes, same way we did last week." That's the kind of quiet continuity that holds morale together when corporate ownership changes. The long-term worry isn't immediate layoffs, it's strategic redirection. Private equity loves efficiency, and efficiency can mean consolidation. If Carolwood ever decides to outsource component machining or merge departments, these towns will feel it first. But the early tone from management suggests respect for the craftsmanship built there. That respect matters. Skilled hands are not interchangeable. They define the feel of every bolt and weld on an Indian frame. If those hands stay busy and proud, quality stays high, and riders feel it with every mile. Culture is the heartbeat. Does it survive a sale, racing, rallies, and the badge? A motorcycle brand doesn't live or die in spreadsheets, it breathes on the street and at the track. That's why racers, rally-goers, and everyday riders waited to see if the new Indian would show up loud after the sale. And so far, it has. The company confirmed through multiple outlets, including New Atlas, that its factory racing and event commitments remain intact. That means the King of the Baggers program, demo trucks, and rally sponsorships are still rolling. Those aren't small gestures, they're proof of life. Racing is more than sport. It's a handshake written in oil. When a Challenger beats a Harley on Sunday, it sells bikes Monday. Carolwood seems to grasp that, keeping crews funded and pride alive from garage to grandstand. At rallies, Indian's tent still hums with demo rides, leather, and high-octane air, a living badge of rebellion proving the brand's soul survives as long as it keeps showing up in person. And when the roar dies down and the trailers pull out, the story of this sale will still be written by the riders who refuse to let the badge fade. Legacy doesn't come from ownership papers. It comes from asphalt miles and engine heat. If you've ridden long enough to care where this industry's heading, hit subscribe. We dig up the facts, the fights, and the fixes, so you never ride blind again. Harley's Calculus Now competition sharpens every wrench in the drawer. The moment Indian's sale to Carolwood became public, the folks in Milwaukee started doing math of their own. Harley-Davidson has spent the last few years walking a tightrope between heritage and high finance, raising prices while trying to hold market share. Now they face a reborn rival, freshly funded and led by a man who once sat in their own conference rooms. That will change how they plan, price, and promote. Analysts at Barron's note Harley has trimmed production to protect dealer margins, but a leaner Indian may force a counter. Expect promotional financing, lower annual percentage rates, or bundled warranties. Small moves riders notice. Harley might also lean harder on accessories, loyalty perks, and its profitable Build Yours program to remind longtime riders that despite competition, they still own the road, the image, and the legacy that built Milwaukee's pride. The irony is that Indian's shakeup could be exactly what Harley needs. For too long, the heavyweight market has felt like a slow dance. A rival with new money and proven leadership brings tension, and tension brings innovation. Harley's next strategic review will likely focus less on volume and more on value, and that's good for everyone who loves American metal. Then there's politics and the heartland. Policy, labor, and optics. Every time an American manufacturer changes hands, the story moves beyond garages and showrooms. It hits Capitol offices, state boards, and union halls. The sale of Indian Motorcycle landed squarely in that zone. Within days, state officials from Iowa and Minnesota began discussing incentives and training. Grants to keep local employment secure. According to the Wall Street Journal, regional development agencies signaled support for Carolwood's plan to retain operations at existing sites while keeping a close eye on long-term commitments. For politicians, an American motorcycle brand symbolizes craftsmanship, independence, and local pride, so expect new tax credits, renewable energy offsets, and retention bonuses to protect middle American jobs. Unions stay cautious, aware that private equity often means efficiency reviews, but early signs show Carolwood keeping wages steady. Cutting pay in a legacy brand's hometown would spark political backlash, and the new owners seem wise enough to steer clear of that disaster. From a rider's perspective, these policies matter in unexpected ways. Incentives can help fund better tooling, steadier parts supply, and cleaner production methods that keep costs predictable. When a state invests in manufacturing stability, riders benefit through reliable service and fewer back orders. Stability may not sound exciting, but it keeps your bike on the road and your local mechanic employed. Global inputs and capital decide what shows up at your parts counter. Supply chains, currency, and capital. Behind every motorcycle is a long trail of suppliers, currencies, and contracts. When Indian becomes a standalone company in early 2026, it will have to manage those networks directly for the first time since Polaris bought the brand 14 years ago. That means negotiating everything from frame castings to digital systems without relying on a parent's bulk discounts. Carolwood's first internal letters to staff, referenced by rideapart.com, promised investment in modern tooling, supplier diversification, and digital retail configurators. Those are not empty buzzwords, they outline a survival plan. Supplier diversification is key. Broadening the supply base shields Indian from shipping shocks and material swings, while careful currency hedging keeps part costs steady. Carolwood's financial edge could manage that complexity well. Meanwhile, improved tooling and digital configurators streamline accessory orders, boost dealer accuracy, and enhance build quality, modernizing infrastructure without losing craftsmanship or the hands-on pride that defines every bolt, weld, and chrome detail leaving Spirit Lake. Trade press covering the transaction said closing is expected by the first quarter of 2026, giving the company roughly 18 months to finalize systems and supplier contracts. That window will define the next decade of the brand. A smooth transition will show riders that Indian's independence isn't just a headline, it's a functioning reality. So what should a rider watch right now? 6-month watch list. For riders who like facts over fluff, here's what matters most in the next 6 months. Watch the parts pipeline first. If your local dealer reports normal lead times through winter, it means Carolwood is handling logistics well. Next, keep an eye on promotional financing. A sudden wave of low-rate offers or bundled accessory deals could reveal whether the new owners are chasing quick market share or pacing their growth. Model year announcements will speak volumes. If Indian unveils 2026 updates on schedule with refreshed trims or performance tweaks, it shows confidence and capital strength. Delays suggest restructuring. Hiring trends at Spirit Lake and Monticello reveal stability or slowdown. And if the factory team stays loud at King of the Baggers and flat track events, it proves the brand still believes in its image, its riders, and the roar that built its legacy. Polaris Investor Relations confirmed that final transaction closing is targeted for the first quarter of 2026. That means this winter and spring are critical. By the time summer rallies return, the shape of the new Indian will be clear. You'll see it in dealership energy, parts shelves, and the tone of rider communities online. Through all the speculation, one truth holds steady. A sale is paperwork. A brand is lived 1 mile at a time. You can't buy soul with spreadsheets, and you can't fake legacy. Whether Indian thrives or fades will depend on the people who build, sell, and ride those machines. Every mile from here writes the next chapter. Maybe Indian will rise again, maybe it won't. But the truth is, companies come and go. Riders keep the legacy alive. If you care about that legacy, like this video, subscribe, and tell your story down below. What year Indian or Harley are you riding, and what's kept you loyal all these years? The best comments always end up in the next video, because this channel isn't about hype, it's about real riders and real miles. Like and subscribe to never miss the truth.